Hello one and all, Jasper here, and today we're going to talk about one of the most popular episodes Game of Thrones has ever put on TV, and I'm going to shit on it for the following 9 minutes. What could this episode be, you may ask yourself if you're a literate ass and didn't read the title, but don't worry, I'll spell it out for you. Battle space OF space TAG space BASTARDS. Not enough? We'll go back to kindergarten, and don't come back till you're able to read if you give a mouse a cookie. You hear me? For the rest of you, let's get into the nitty-gritty as I go over why the Battle of the Bastards is actually shit. Now, many might be shocked at this. How could I possibly say such things about one of the greatest battles ever put to the silver screen? It surpasses every battle Game of Thrones has ever done previously. Even more famous movie battles such as Helm's Deep and Paranor Fields pale in comparison. Now, I'm not a massive Lord of the Rings fan, but if anyone comments that on this video, with that said, I suppose I should give credit where credit is due. When it comes to the directing, acting, stunt work, and visuals, it's a masterpiece. And it's the only reason why people are able to accept this dogshit writing and failure as an adaptation seriously as a decent episode. And you might be wondering, how can this be a bad adaptation? There are no books to base these events on. Oh, we'll get to that. But let's focus on how the show fucks this battle over. Starting with Sansa being a right old cunt and talking like an imbecile. I guess Cersei rubbed off on her more than I thought. She brings up how Jon should ask her thoughts on how about to go through the battle. Fair enough, she may understand how Ramsay's mind works. So Jon agrees and asks what she thinks. To which she replies, "Don't do what he wants you to do. You mutton-head, clawed-paw simpleton. How about instead of saying something that anyone knows, why don't you tell him exactly what Ramsay will do? Because anyone with an IQ above the temperature of Antarctica would have said that Ramsay would use Rickon, flaying him alive and torturing him in order to have Jon attack his forces. It's not what happened because what Ramsay did was foolish and way too risky to actually do with no guarantee of victory or working. But we're focusing on Sansa being a tosspot right now. It's clear that you and Jon both know that you need a bigger army, or at the very least, have more men. Yet you choose to not tell Jon that you have an entire army of Vale Knights waiting to help. Soulless ginger bitch. Tell Jon this so he might hold off on the attack. Then, with the extra men, you might be able to force the other lords to betray Ramsay, or maybe Jon could actually use them in his battle tactics to make sure fewer lives are lost. Speaking of, let's move on to the battle and how it shows Jon as a halfling. It starts off with Ramsay being a right old retard, letting Rickon run over to Jon as fast as he could, instead of starting the day by giving him the reek treatment. If that last arrow missed, or if Jon wasn't blinded by rage like a toddler who was told he couldn't have any candy at the mall, then he just gave up the biggest advantage to manipulate the enemy. Jon reacts reasonably enough, riding his horse in order to save his brother. So far so good. But right when that arrow pierces Rickon's heart, all of Jon's brain cells die with him for some reason. And now, as a sibling, I understand wanting revenge. I understand wanting to just ride over and kill the one responsible. Here's the thing, Jon. Standing between you and Ramsay, there is about 6,000 men between you and your revenge. Now, don't be the emotional teenager that you've been growing up from and maturing into a competent leader, and get back to your— oh, fuck, he's running to his death. Well, at least Davos will hold the line, probably follow Sansa and help her become the queen of the no—
Go! Follow your commander!
Oh, fuck me. You're all bent on dying for a character who hasn't spoken a single line since he showed up. Okay, fine, go, run in and die. With the giant, you could still pull off a Hold it! Pause. Zoom in. Why the fuck is 1-1 probably the biggest asset in this fight running in without a weapon? Look, this isn't the first time these overgrown gorilla people have done this in the show, and it was dumb then. But they do sometimes have weapons. Hell, we see one with a bow and arrow firing like a ballista. Even if you don't have the bow, chop a tree down and hand that to him. Guy could probably take out a few hundred without getting a single cut. Anyways, moving on. Jon Snow gets his horse shot out from under him. Good. This is what we call natural selection. Since he had a massive head start against his own cavalry forces and was charging towards the enemy, there is no way his forces will be able to reach him in time to save him. What? Did Varys use his teleportating magic to blip them a little bit closer? It's the only thing I can imagine that can justify this.
Yes, my lord.
Okay. Moving on. Jon somehow does not die in this initial clusterfuck of swords, horses, and spears, mostly because he has plot armor about as thick as my dick, which is funny because the pretty boy bastard still isn't wearing a helmet. Have I not gone through this in the Iron Throwdown enough? Helmets are important. There is no point in the enemy seeing your pretty face when a mace will make you look like strawberry marshmallow jello. Well, at least the archers are being kept back. Should Jon be able to organize his men into a formation when Tormund gets to him, then Davos can give them some covering fire to aid in falling back.
Follow!
What could possibly be gained from charging into battle like this? I can understand marching forward, so maybe you can fire your volleys into the reserve Bolton forces, but that clearly isn't what you're doing. Can somebody please load up a total war battle and teach Davos how to actually use archers effectively? Cause it's not charging them into melee! Anyway, it seems like Tormund and the other wildlings finally arrived to assist Jon, roughly around the same time as the Bolton reserves arrived. This is okay because Tormund started his sprint a lot sooner and the Bolton forces were closer, so them arriving at similar times isn't that big of an issue. What it is how we see the Bolton soldiers with big-ass shields encircling them. I mean, guys, you see this. Run in and charge. Attack! They aren't in formation yet. It'd be easier to break through if you attacked right now rather than later when they're set up. By the 7, we're supposed to be rooting for these guys. Davos! How did you and your archers get here so quickly? Tormund just showed up despite having a good 5-minute head start. Speaking of, do you know what would be incredibly useful in this situation? If there were some archers saved in the back who could begin loosing arrows straight into the asses of the Boltons. Luckily we have oh wait! No we don't! Thanks, Davos. You are the only one here who seems to be dumber than Jon Snow. Anyway, once the encirclement finishes, the battle picks up as the shield wall constricts on our heroes, who are trapped between them and a pile of dead bodies. Yet down from the pile comes none other than Jon Umber, aka Small Jon Umber. Speaking of, let's talk about this traitorous piece of shit. Some of you may be surprised to hear this, but Jon here is actually a character from the books. And do you know what he does in the books? He serves as one of Robb Stark's personal guards, and during the events of the Red Wedding, flips a fucking table over to protect Robb from the crossbow bolts flying down onto them. To the very last moment of his life, he's protecting his king because the Umbers are sworn and very loyal to the Starks. Not to mention, the Umbers choose Stannis over the Boltons, except for a few because they worry about the safety of the Great Jon who's still alive and in prison. Yes, this is the perfect character to make a secondary antagonist to the Starks. Fucking hell! I don't know who is worse, Small Jon or the Sand Snakes.
You want a good girl, but you need a bad pussy.
Sand Snakes. I take it back. It's still the Sand Snakes. The fighting continues on until the big surprise twist that nobody could possibly see coming. The Vale Knights ride in to save the day. That's right, it's the classic Army A gets its shit stomped by Army B until Army C shows up to save the day. We've only seen this happen 2 other times in this show alone. With that said, the fight is pretty much over. The Vale cleans up everyone and Jon Snow takes Winterfell thanks to 1-1. But this video isn't about the episode as a whole, or there would be a lot more bitching about Dany. This was about the battle itself, how the tactics are on par with the military brilliance of a slow salamander, the character growth and intelligence is thrown into a dumpster like a baby nobody wants, and what aspects they bring back into the books are pissed on. I don't even have a good way to end this video, just fuck this battle. I hate it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go watch the Battle of Blackwater. Stay safe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.